Okay, I see Pei is here also. So we've got folks coming in. So we've got Kenya, China by way of England, Kenya again, India. Um, we've got Washington, D.C., or I don't know where you are, Bruce, actually.
Actually in Florida today.
Oh, okay.
A lot warmer than DC. It's very nice
Okay, snowbirding it. Good.
for a few days.
Yeah. We've got Alina coming in, I presume from Mallorca. Good. Got Delhi and Pune. All right. Just wondering. Just wondering before we get started here. We got Green Lake. I see Evelyn's phone. A few other people. Just want to make sure, Kartika, that one time we had an issue with some people not being able to click a link, but can somebody just double check? Because we had a lot of signups here. I just want to make sure we don't. And Ben, you're coming in nice and early from, is it Utah or Idaho? Sorry,
Yeah, I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah right now.
right.
Been out here for the
Okay,
past few months.
great.
Skiing in the mountains yesterday. We finally got some
Oh,
snow.
wow. Nice. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. It's January 7th, 2026. And what a year it's already starting out as. So we've, uh, this is upwards of almost our 200th meeting as a global alliance. And for those of you who are new here, Earth Team is basically a, a global alliance of individuals and organizations that are working together to restore Earth, both planet and people. We consist of wildlife protectors, habitat protectors, public health, generalists across the field, including communications experts, um, and people also working generally on regenerative agriculture, and some cross-cutting. So we decided, instead of working in stovepipes or by ourselves, that we would unite and create the so-called planetary health approach. And so we are united by a vision, which is a world that is reset with temperatures and water cycles stabilizing, habitats and species recovering, and communities that are safe from outbreaks and thriving. So that is Earth Team. And what we usually do before we get into an agenda, tonight we'll go through the regular updates from the coordination unit on fundraising, comms, and solutions. And we also have the spotlight tonight. So I'm just wondering here, how many do we got 15 now. Just wondering, there's something might be strange here because we had confirmations from a bunch of people here. Okay, must be a New Year's thing. Um, so does anybody have any updates that they want to share first for coordination purposes or to get support? Feel free to put up your hand or blurt out. I've got everybody on a grid here. I'll start out with a couple then if nobody's got some. So since we're talking about film tonight and storytelling, I think it's worth noting that the Freeland Film Festival that some of you went to and know about, it actually got nominated for an award by the Office of the Governor of Wisconsin for the Tourism Award, which will be decided in March at an event. That's one thing. So congratulations to those who worked on the Film Fest and I know put a lot of effort into it. It's paying off. It's being recognized. I see Rich Christian there, who's the executive producer of the Film Fest coming in from Chicago. Secondly, we have some activities coming up over in, well, a lot, Southeast Asia, in Africa on counter wildlife trafficking. Some are privately sponsored, some are sponsored by the U.S. government. And that a lot of that is basically forming, training, and networking task forces to identify and disrupt illicit supply chains, basically trafficking syndicates. So Prana's joining me. Bruce's team also, our partner IWT, will be over in Southeast Asia very soon, while people like Peter Masinde, who's on this call, are keeping things busy at the front lines here in Africa, looking at these issues because they relate. These are cross-border and cross-continental supply chains that continue to operate. And we're getting a lot of good intel. We've also developed a database with Prana's leadership. Any other updates that people want to bring up before we go through the coordination unit bullet points? Not seeing any. Okay, well, you can always add them. So under the coordination unit, I mean, basically on fundraising, we're combining fundraising with solutions right now. We've put into the chat, the group chat, some opportunities, for smaller budget organizations. Hopefully people saw those. We also are working on our blockchain token, which is designed primarily to improve monitoring and evaluation, showing verified action and impact. But we're designing it specifically also so it can help people get more funding because donors want trusted action and impact. And we will be meeting after this call. We worked on it partly into the holidays and still going on with the pilot team that's going to test out a verification system on that. So we're a few months away from showing you what that looks like, but lots of progress there. Pei, I see your hand up. Go for it. I see Pei and Elena. Go ahead, Elena. I think Pei might have dropped off. Yeah.
Well, I just checked the chat messages and we have someone requesting, as far as my French goes, something about facilitating this or maybe transcripts in French. I don't know if you saw that message. It's in the chat right now. So I don't know what our philosophy about that is. So yeah, I'm just bringing that up.
Okay, I'm back now. Happy New Year to everyone. Shall I wait for Steve to respond first?
No, go for it. I'm reading the message. I can read
Okay.
French a little bit, so go ahead.
Just something might be interesting to the people in Alliance. As many of you know, Arctasia has been focused on education approach to about the planetary health and particularly about the children's education. That's where we have been working in last 15 years. Last year we've been approached by WCS China, and they are asking us to collaborate about exotic pet trade and exotic pet issues. Basically is a quite severe problem because a lot of exotic pet trade and the people owning these exotic pets doesn't have responsible pet ownerships, or they don't know how to looking after this exotic pet issue. Obviously, this is a very new area for us. We haven't we talk about the exotic pets in our curriculum, but we haven't addressed it in the more kind of like in-depth way. So if this is something, it does go ahead, the way we discuss with WCS, we never worked with them before, but we have talked. I know WCS have been speaking in this, in our past webinar, but we did talk to WCS, say in a way, exotic pet trade and keeping is a very deep water, especially with the size of the country. It's very complex. We did not see this as just a quick fix. It's not just a couple months dip in and go. We feel if this is going to go ahead, it will be require at least 3 years investment from really understand the current situation to focus on what particular species, maybe particularly about reptiles and or insects, all these things. I just saw something could be quite interesting for this alliance. Yeah.
Yeah, can I ask, it's interesting you brought that up, Peg, because actually one of the big activities I just referenced that Freeland and partner IWT, Earth Team partners are working on training and equipping these task forces with intel and then connecting them. Actually, this next event is focused on the exotic pet trade. So maybe Prana, can you say a word about that since you're the training coordinator putting that together? You don't have to go into detail because it's a government to government intel, but I think it's good for Pay to know that we're working on this issue as well.
Are you talking about India participants or overall SIG
I'm,
update?
I'm talking about just generally bringing government agencies together to look at this very issue that Pay's talking about. We're doing that.
Yeah, so as Steve mentioned, in our current SIG, we are bringing Malaysia, India, and Thailand officers together. And it was quite difficult task to actually bring Indian officials for the meeting to get all the permissions because of, political pressures and things like that. It has been difficult, but we have some good officers coming from Air Intelligence Unit Customs and their counterparts from Kuala Lumpur and Bangkok airports. So yeah, we are looking forward.
Yeah. Maybe in some stage, particularly, of course, like I said, the WCS has working with the authorities in China and other countries, but they're more, that's why we felt it was a good team up because they're more specialized in policy and law. What we're really helping them is develop the curriculum or activities that will be for them to reach the wider audience, or particularly through the school education system. So that is where they weaken. So it's a partnership in the way is do what we're good at it from our side and utilize what they have done with the higher policy. The problem with all these policy is so far away from the consumers and far away from even, we include it. I don't know whether in your enforcement, we actually found one of the biggest weaker stakeholder is the vets. The vets don't know how to treat it. The vets have very limited understanding themselves to deal with the wildlife trade issue. When the animals were put in, they don't even know how to recognize it or what is a better way. So that is the way from the children, consumers part to the particular stakeholder, what we will emphasize in the veterinary training in a way as well. And highlighted, of course, the veterinary about exotic pet trade is not unheard of or no, but they are more focused on commercial urgency. What we really, from an NGO point of view, will be, address is the trade issues or the exotics, and also enable these frontline stakeholders of us, they can ensure animal welfare and the conservation, the purpose be met. That is what missing from the commercial setting of the training. And I think we must have this is still very early stage. Like I said, I would not embark this program without the 3 years commitment or minimum 2 years, because otherwise it's just a drop in the oceans. And if anyone has, I don't know, we definitely don't have a funding. We are saying to WCS, you want to do this, we're very happy to come to a partnership. If this is something you guys think you can raise the fund, we can do this properly. We are equipped to do it, but I can't do this out of the stone, basically. And I thought, apart from resources or funding, it might be interest to everyone, but I find this most relevant to this alliance.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up, Pei. We should definitely talk about this separately, and anybody else who wants to, because we're all over that trade, and it kind of came to us organically. We were chasing lots of body parts trade, but then in the end, we found a whole separate supply chain, and the officers we were training to, catch rhino horn and ivory traffickers and all that, they came to us and said they're just swimming in cases about, chimpanzees, gorillas, lemurs, wild birds, et cetera, et cetera. And it's for these, it's high-end pet training and collections for show, and definitely geographically point in the direction that you're familiar with. So let's chat about it. Yeah,
Yep.
it's definitely relevant. Good. And we're chatting now in French and English back and forth in the chat, and there's AI has moved so quickly that I see no reason why we can't have Zoom interpretations, during these meetings. We've done it for training courses, so but I do think, to be honest, I think we have to plug that in beforehand. So if everybody will please hang with us. The AI translations, there's meeting notes being taken, can easily be translated into any language, almost any language. So please do hang with us, and we're recording this as well. Okay, well, look, let's go into, so I've told you about the fundraising and that, and then on communications, linked to the token and Earth Team, we are creating a couple new videos with AsiaWorks Television. They came to our December 3rd town hall to listen and watch us in action and kind of help update Earth Team. But again, we're months away from doing that, but we're really very, very focused now on the STAR token verification system, which we'll get to after this with a working group. So, but right now I would like to,
Can I just quickly say, because I had
sure.
another thing. It's because we're starting a new, I guess, solution here in Mallorca. And it's we're looking at we want to spend all of this year to explore the culture that is currently very fragmented and divided on the island in terms of planetary health. So we're starting a whole process. We're launching it on the website as soon as it'll work. But then you can read more about it. But it's essentially a research exploration project that will get to the root causes of why the situation is the way it is in terms of animal welfare and also the human-animal relationship. What are those root causes, and what is the diverging interest in terms of the massive tourist industry that is on the island, and how does it all play together? So we're a team. It's launching it end of January. We're going to have our first circle gathering of folks with diverging interests that comes together. We will look into what are the reconciling factors that we can start to look at. So much more on that, and it's in the demand. What's it called? The demand. That silo where we have demand reduction. And then also ocean protection. Those are the key factors that we're working on.
Okay.
So that's something new coming up.
Good. Well, come tell us more about it. I'm curious, especially in the demand reduction side. I'm trying to imagine that, but yeah, and such a famous place. So anything that's done there could be also turned into a positive and seen by a lot of people. So
Yeah, that's the hope, is becoming a role model, because the issue is often that we lack these examples of, what are things we can't do the exact same way here, same way in any other place, but we can show a really good story of what worked in one place, which is, I guess, also a really good segue to Ben, actually, in terms of, you can tell a really local story, and then everyone kind of gets it from understanding that story.
beautifully said. Thank you, Elena, who went all the way to Green Lake and saw Ben and his grandfather. So let's talk to Ben now. Ben, you've come in from Salt Lake City, Utah today. Thank you. I think you're the earliest riser here. You can see there's people from around the world in the other time zones. Let me just introduce Ben with a very short bio. Ben was guided by the wisdom of his grandfather, wetland scientist called Cal DeWitt. Ben, a young filmmaker, then spent a summer immersed in the mysterious world of Wabisa wetlands in Wisconsin. Together, as documented in the film, The Invitation to Wonder, Wabisa Wetlands, together they uncover the life, the secrets, and the importance of wetlands, and in doing so, our relationship to all living things. Ben is a great storyteller driven by a curiosity for the natural world and our relationship with it. He was selected as a 2022 Jackson Wild Summit Fellow and received mentorship with National Geographic and top environmental filmmakers. Whether he's producing films for nonprofits or shooting for Great Lakes Now, ARTE, the Environmental Defense Fund, or hosting community screenings, Ben strives to rebuild connections to our land and reveal the hidden wonder of nature all around us. Ben, welcome to Earth Team. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that. Oh, there I am. I couldn't see me previously, and now I'm front and center. Okay. Well, yeah, it's an honor to be here. I really enjoyed the Freeland Film Festival. If any of you haven't had the chance to make it to the festival, I would highly recommend it. Um, and it's great to hear that you're getting recognition for your hard work in the festival. So I have a kind of presentation here, so I'm going to try to share that. And as technical difficulties go, it appears, hold on one moment. There we go. Okay, can you all see this?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, well, I'm going to kind of get into this, but so as Steve mentioned in my bio, and thank you for that, I'm a documentary filmmaker. I grew up in Wisconsin in the Midwest. I'm currently in Salt Lake City. It's kind of a temporary move out here. But this presentation is really going to be talking about a little bit about the behind the scenes of making this film, and to make it relevant to Earth Team, kind of how do we convey habitat in a compelling way that builds appreciation and wonder? And I think that's really important right now because we need all the tools we can to make people fall in love with our natural spaces. So just to give a little bit of background first, and then I'll go into more of the lessons learned from the film. My grandparents live 20 minutes south of Madison, Wisconsin, which is the capital of the state. And hidden in this really urban and agricultural environment is Wabisa wetlands. And this is a 1,000-acre wetland complex that is permanently protected and designated as a state natural area, though it didn't always have this protection. And it is actually known as one of the healthiest and most diverse wetlands remaining in southern Wisconsin. And I wanted to kind of start by sharing this photo. This is of my grandparents' house. They are quite literally immersed in this ecosystem, surrounded 360 degrees on all sides by the wetland. And they really wanted to, they specifically chose to live here. They wanted to live in a wetland environment, and they wanted to raise their family in this world and eventually their grandkids. So this is me when I was 5 years old. There was actually another film production company that came out to my grandparents' house when I was a child, and they were filming a story on my grandpa. And he mentioned that the grandkids come out to the marsh, and they wanted to capture that moment. So it was actually very important for my film because I was able to use all of this old archival footage. And this is, again, my grandma and I, and my grandma would take me and my siblings into the wetland almost every Friday growing up. And it was just, when you're a kid, the natural world is such a fascinating place. So this is really what kind of inspired, in a lot of ways, my love and curiosity and wonder for nature. And I didn't really realize at the time how significant and rare this childhood was. So fast forward, this is 15 years later, and this is kind of when, well, this is a still taken from my documentary, and right, this was spring of 2020. COVID was, kind of putting the world on lockdown at this time. Um, I had just made the choice to take a break from college, and I was actually in a film program, but it was a very narrative focused program, and I knew that I wanted to work more on an environmental documentary. So I finished my sophomore year, and I kind of made a decision in my mind that I wanted to combine my interest in film with the natural world, and I would do anything I could to make that happen, but I had no idea where to start. And I received a call from my grandpa, Cal, and he essentially invited me to make a documentary about Wabiso wetlands. When I got this call, at this point, I had the longest film I had ever made was 10 minutes. And I really didn't know where to start or how to start. I also I don't have a scientific background. I don't have that experience. And I also don't have experience in wetland ecosystems other than when I was a kid. But I wanted to try, and I took a very, I would say, unconventional approach to storytelling, which is typically with when you're making a feature length film or any film, you want to have an outline and a script and a storyboard. But I felt like I first had to become acquainted with this habitat again, to learn how to tell this story. So what I did is I camped in my grandparents' backyard, and I spent a total of 6 months filming. The first 3 of those months, I went out, journeyed out basically every morning in a canoe and really just tried to discover this place for what it was. That led to a lot of very interesting experiences. And what I want to share is when I first um, started filming, the first few weeks were quite challenging. Um, and I think it goes to show that, there's good reason why wetlands have been so misunderstood, so feared, and so undervalued. In the United States, we've lost over 50% of our wetlands. And though there have been more protections, like in Wisconsin, we have fairly strong statewide wetland protections. However, nationally, we continue to lose these wetland protections. So wetlands are still very misunderstood and undervalued. And I think many of us know that they're one of the most important biodiverse habitats that store an immense amount of carbon, and it's very important to hold on to these places. But all of that being said, when I started, it was extremely hard to navigate. You know, you're getting swarmed by mosquitoes, and this is some images of my canoe, my grandparents' canoe. I would have to tie my camera system down onto the canoe to make sure it wouldn't fall into the water. But all of your equipment is getting wet as well. So there's methane gas bubbling up that smells quite bad. And it's very hard to see beyond these first impressions. It's not like a prairie or a forest where you can immediately see the beauty and kind of understand the value. But I kept going. There's a photo of me walking through. And I began to see some very interesting things that grabbed my attention. For example, one sequence of the film is dragonflies laying eggs. When I filmed it, I didn't know what it was. Again, without having that scientific understanding. But I captured this sequence, later talked to my grandpa and realized that these were dragonflies laying eggs, and I was able to kind of show their life cycle by later capturing underwater and a dragonfly nymph underwater. And I continued to follow these kind of tangents. This was another moment in the marsh where I only saw this bird once during my entire filming experience. This is a least bittern, which is a very elusive marsh bird. And what I want to say here is what I had began to accumulate this massive catalog of footage. And what I realized kind of halfway through filming is that this story has to be about a portrait of the marsh. It's about the whole ecosystem. Whereas when I first started, I was trying to find maybe a crane or a specific wildlife species to focus on. So I realized that the film was starting to portray a portrait of this ecosystem. Which leads me to kind of my first main point when we think about portraying habitat or an ecosystem through film, which is that we can start to think about it as its own character. And this realization, even though it might sound kind of obvious, this realization led me to really think about the filmmaking process differently, to think about how I could portray this habitat in a different dynamic way. And it really made me start to ask different questions about the marsh. Like, how does it change throughout the seasons? What mysteries and secrets does it hold? How old is the marsh? So I want to share a short video next, but one of these elements was capturing the underwater aspect of this habitat, which many people don't think about. So give me a second here. I need to go share video. Can you hear the audio?
Everything here is supported
Yes.
by a constant supply of fresh water. This network of meandering streams, created by spring water welling up from deep underground. Pumping over 10,000 gallons of water per minute, the springs are like the heart of this whole ecosystem.
Sorry, I was muted. I wanted to first share that clip because I think it really helps illustrate how we can look at habitats in a different way and thinking about the whole picture. The next clip is actually a sequence we wanted, or a concept we wanted to convey, is how old is the marsh and how did it evolve over time? And with film, you have so much possibility because it's really limitless what you can do in some ways. So I worked with an animator out of Wisconsin, and we developed this animation that shows the marsh evolving over thousands of years.
I was walking on a thin layer of vegetation on the surface of an ancient landscape. And what my grandpa and his students discovered is that all of this used to be water. In what was once a bay of Lake Wabisa.
We know we go back about 12,000 years. Picture the glacial bay and glacial lake Wabisa, and quiet water, algae, and aquatic life settles. That peat builds up and provides a new base for wetland plants. They die down, they form a little particulate matter, then the next batch, the next year grows. Every year it gets deeper and deeper, layer after layer after layer. Gradually, the peat moves out, the peat builds up from the bottom, and the edge moves out toward Lake Wabisa. Perhaps the most astounding realization is that we live on the edge of a great history book.
So the next important aspect I wanted to share when we think about portraying habitat is just slowing down. Let me get to some notes here. So when most nature shows and environmental shows, I feel like show nature as being this very fast-paced, dramatic experience. When we think about the BBC series and the chase, the hunts in Africa, and all of these things. And I think while that is real at times, I think it doesn't portray a genuine picture of what it's like to be out in nature and experiencing these things. So there's a lot of moments in my film where I wanted to just let the visuals and the audio of the marsh just play without any music, without any narration. one of my favorite moments in the documentary is actually this scene of cattail seed dispersal. And again, it's not anything, you wouldn't think of it as being this being a spectacle in any way, but with the right light and with with it being backlit like this, it was a beautiful experience. It looks like snowflakes slowly blowing in the wind. So it's just, and there's a lot more moments like this that I wanted to keep in the film, and it was just kind of a trying to balance that with also being engaging and keeping people, wanting, keeping people engaged. So what my grandpa calls this way of looking, beholding, actually, is one of his favorite terms, is beholding, and which is a scene in the film as well. But this is it's a way of looking where you set aside your human expectations in a sense, and you just open yourself up to what is unfolding in front of you and being present with that. And again, that's something we can convey through film. And why is this important? I think what this does is it allows the audience to form their own relationship and connection with this place. For people who don't have the opportunity to spend time in a marsh, we can just put them there with the audio and visuals. And it goes to my grandpa's way of teaching, which is don't just tell people what to think, don't lecture people, but try to invite the viewer into being a part of the story. The last element I wanted to share that I think makes very compelling story when we think about our natural world is the human connection. And it's interesting because this kind of might seem contrary to what I said previously, but humans are often left out of the picture. Again, with the BBC films, which I loved, like Planet Earth, these films show this untouched wilderness, these places that are pristine and where people haven't had an influence. But how many places on the planet are actually like that, are actually untouched? I think is very few. And we know that indigenous communities have also been stewarding these environments for thousands of years in their own ways. So one of the biggest point of, I guess, feedback that I've gotten from the film of doing a lot of these screenings is the most meaningful element of my documentary is seeing my grandfather's connection to the land and then seeing how that's being translated to me, to the next generation. And I just have another quick clip I'm going to show here.
Hi. Man, what a treat. What a treat.
When was the last time you were out here?
Oh, a long time ago. I don't know how long. Man, isn't this something? This is really something. Wow. Great pleasure canoeing through Obisa Marsh. Sandhill cranes coming up there. That's a nice thing. Lovely. Wow. They called right above our heads. Wow. How wonderful.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay. Um, um, and I know we're getting down on time here, but I just wanted to leave on the note that one of the biggest lessons I've learned making this film, and distributing this film, doing screenings. We aired on PBS Wisconsin, and we got feedback from PBS Wisconsin viewers this past spring. But in order for people to care and want to protect something, they first need to fall in love with it. And I think this, the message of hope and wonder, is that's a very powerful emotion that people can latch onto, and that inspires action a lot more than um, the destruction and all the negative things that are happening with the natural world. I think there needs to be both of those elements. People need to be educated and aware, but I think what I've learned through this film's distribution and talking to other storytellers as well is that, leaving people with that message of hope is what instills them to want to act. And when we fall in love with something, like I hope this film makes people fall in love with marshes and with their local ecosystems, I think that that's when again, an ultimate goal is how can people take this story, look at what's around them, look at their own environments, what's out their back door, is it protected, um, and build that connection with it. So kind of starting at a local level. And as a testament to that, this is a quote someone left on our PBS broadcast. So I think the message is coming through. So yeah, that's where I wanted to leave this, and I also wanted to just share the film. We've had a lot of success with it, which was unexpected to me with my first documentary, really. And what's happening next is we're actually going to be distributing. It was accepted to be distributed nationally through the PBS system, which is scheduled for April of 2026 of this year, in celebration of Earth Day. So I'm really excited for the opportunity to reach audiences across the country with the film. We do screenings and events as well. A lot of them, my grandpa joins me and does a Q&A. And we've done these for land trust organizations, for environmental groups. If any of you are interested in something like that, here's my contact information. And then the QR code is to our newsletter. So if you want to stay updated and informed, you're welcome to join that. And I will, keep you updated. So that's where I will leave it.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you so much for coming today. Please hang with us a moment. I know people have some comments and questions, but thank you especially for sharing with us, the elements that you figured out were key to making a story that brought this wetland to life and helped develop this love and affection between the viewer and the story and this habitat. We invited you because we just haven't seen very much of that. Like you said, there's the kind of, the BBC type stories that go out where there's nobody there and just focus in on, but this was much more, you know, for us, especially close to home and realistic. Um, but also we try to capture and share solutions. And I think you nailed it. You got an award-winning film, and want to thank you for preparing a presentation today that shares with other people and potential other storytellers how you did it. I would just add to what you said. I think there's a lot to add, but let me yield here in a moment to others that, your choice of music and how you used it just brought the habitat to life. It was just so symphonic and brought tears to my eyes too when I watched. It was just so beautiful. And I thank you for doing that. We'll also need to get some tips
Thank
from
you.
you on how you show video so well on Zoom. Um, but and yeah, like Ben said, this is going to show on PBS nationally this year. So we open the floor to Ben Albert. Anybody got any comments or questions? Alina, you're up. Go ahead. And then Rich, you're
Yeah.
after her.
Yeah, I mean, I was so fortunate to be in at the film fest to see and meet your granddad and you, and so that was a great joy. It was a definite highlight of the festival. So just big kudos to that whole process. It's just inspiring. My question is around essence. You were talking about like the character, making the place character. Can you say a little bit more about how did you discover that? What was your process with finding out what that character of the character was of the place? Like how did that come to you? And then
Hmm.
what was then the translation into the storytelling for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think my approach to this film, again, being very unconventional and not having that script and outline beforehand, allowed me to go in with an open mind and just being curious to the wetland itself. And then again, just spending the time there. I think a lot of these crews go into an environment and spend maybe a week or 2 weeks, and they have an objective and they have a shot list.
Mm,
But with my film, having the access is another crucial thing. Is I literally camped on my grandparents' backyard. It was COVID, so I couldn't stay in their house. Um, but just being that close to the environment enabled me to see it through different times of the day, to go out very early in the morning. Um, and then I think also just I think somewhat being naive and not having a scientific background enabled me to capture it in a way that guides the audience through that journey with me. Because I'm not the voice of authority. I'm not really telling people what to think. It's just you're seeing me interacting with this place, you're seeing my discoveries, and then the audience kind of builds their connection with the wetland as I do. Um, but yeah, I think it is interesting thinking about like with this film, wetlands are I haven't seen many films on wetlands. I didn't really have many examples. And it was just finding those, I guess, following my own curiosity. And then talking to my grandpa and him telling me some more about the hydrology and the history of the marsh because I had all of his knowledge as well from living here for over 50 years. Does
thanks.
that answer
Rich?
your question? We can
I
talk
mean,
more if you'd like.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Hi, Ben. It's great to see you again, and we really appreciate your work too. You've done a fantastic job. It was so great to have you at the film festival. My question is, your film, as you pointed out earlier, or the experience at the wetlands, can be a very hostile environment for people. Um, but you, through your journey, have made it a very soothing experience for the viewer. How did you, I mean, obviously it was over time and your process that was significantly long. Undoubtedly, when you started, I mean, I look at your camera in a canoe, and I've shot in many places for many years, and the camera in the canoe has never been my favorite place to shoot. It's very difficult to shoot that way and do it well. How did you move from this hostile environment experience to presenting a story that is really so very soothing. The music is scored so beautifully. It's an experience for the viewer that literally helps you behold, it seems.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, it was great again to meet you at the festival and the work we've done together. Hmm. Yeah, it's what I kind of discovered was as I had these experiences in the marsh, and there was the challenges, and there were the mosquitoes, and the filming in this environment with your equipment getting wet, and all these things. But kind of actually near closer to the end of filming, I kind of had this feeling of being humbled by the marsh itself. I began again kind of seeing it as a character, but seeing it as its own entity in a way, which is how my grandpa describes it as a creature essentially, with which and and thinking of it in that way, it was just kind of this very genuine awe and wonder that I discovered. And there was these moments that were just blew me away, like during the fall, thousands of blackbirds migrating over the wetland. My grandpa has counted hundreds, one time over 100,000 blackbirds coming through. Um, but it was, and then this moment where they were doing these murmurations, which I wasn't able to show, unfortunately, but and it was just that awe that you feel in those moments. Um, and it wasn't really a shift. It was just a gradual progression of my experience filming there.
Any other comments or questions for Ben here? I can imagine people here all have their own favorite habitats, and wondering if films like this could be made about it. And let's, not forget that this storytelling has been very helpful to galvanize support to make sure that these habitats are not developed further commercially. So, any other comments or questions?
I just want to say congratulations to Ben. I think you have set up a great role model for the young people. And especially, I really like your approach about you not coming from particularly biological, zoological, scientific background, but you follow your heart to make this film. And I think there's a chance to really amplify your story and the film. We would love to do that. Especially, I think wetland is a very overlooked issues. Um, is very often to be, treated as a mushy land and not get as many protected as it should be, in particular in the Asia continent. So I think, bravo to what you have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the PBS audience skews much older. They're generally 50 plus. Um, and that audience has connected really well with the story because of my grandpa's character. But I do really hope to reach more younger audiences with this. We've done especially university age, I think is a good age group because that was my age at the time of making the film. We have done a few youth screenings too, and the kids find the wildlife fascinating, the shots of the wildlife, and then my journey and the challenges and the bugs and everything. So if anyone has, ideas on how to reach younger audiences, let me know. I'd be happy to talk about that. And again, my contact info, hopefully we can share that somewhere after this meeting as well.
Yeah. And the first time I saw it, Ben, the first I saw it, I was sitting right where I am right now, Nairobi, Kenya, and travel around, deal with a lot of different countries and cultures and stuff. And I thought, this actually, I could see people enjoying this film, not just in Wisconsin or in the States on PBS, but in different parts of the world. So I think that's another thing to consider is how we can get this film shown around the globe. And that's
Great.
Earth Team can help with that. So Well, thank you again very much for coming today, preparing that presentation and sharing it with us as we open up 2026. All the best of luck to you with this new PBS venture. Keep us
Thank
updated.
you.
And let's capture Ben's solution here and map it. He's a star. We're going to be distributing stars to shine a light on people who are making a difference, and you're definitely one of them. And so uh, join the team, and thank you again.
Thank you. It's an honor. Appreciate that. And I did want to mention the link to the full film is available to anyone who registered to this talk. So it should be in the initial email confirmation that you got, and that we'll keep the link up probably at least the next week or so. So please take advantage to watch it if you haven't yet.
Okay, great. Well, we've got 18 people from 10 organizations, and this is going Facebook Live, and we can edit this a little bit later too, just to focus in on your presentation more. So we can still send this out. And anybody who signed up, apparently a lot of people did, and then they also get a copy of the recording.
Can,
So
can we have Ben's contact detail in our either our WhatsApp or this chat message? I know it's in the end of his presentation, but it's not on the message.
sure. Ben, yeah, if you can just put that into the chat again, we'll do a little screenshot of that and stick it into our group chat. We've got like 51, 52 people on a WhatsApp group chat, which anybody is invited to join. We talk there a little bit on a daily basis. We have a coordination unit which keeps things going. In fact, we're going to meet in a moment as others depart to talk about our working group on solutions. So there it
Okay,
is.
I just added email and number to the chat.
Okay, and I know that's being captured, and great.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we have a great spotlight lined up for March, and we've got a couple that are vying for February. We'll announce what that is going to be soon. But in the meantime, Happy New Year, everybody. And please be on the lookout for some pretty interesting updates on our blockchain token, which I now invite the pilot team to stay on for a little bit longer. We're going to onboard you with a verification test case in as easy and fun way as we possibly can. So thank you again, everybody. See you next month. First Wednesday of every month, same link, same time. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys.